So we are here in the Old Man River Valley, formerly known as the Belly River Valley, which is a little confusing because there's still a Belly River, but for most of the 1800s, after the two joined, the rest of the river was known as the Belly rather than the Old Man. It's the Old Man now. Bit confusing. Anyways, we're here today at Fort Macleod, exploring some of the Métis history in this area. Now, we don't really know when the first Métis people became active in this area, but by the 1870s there was a clear established population, mostly relating to the Valais family. So you have, as I mentioned, the Valais, as well as the LeBlancs, the Héberts, and the Gladstones, who are all part of this extended family system. Now, we're not entirely sure where they settled. Some accounts describe a Métis wintering camp up by the Porcupine Hills near Maycroft, while there was apparently also a Métis camp just across the river from the old Fort Macleod site, about 2 miles in that direction. Now, the reason I put camp in quotes is because camps in that period, especially when referring to Métis spaces, could be anything from a collection of teepees and wedge tents to a shanty town to a full-on wintering settlement. And outsiders would describe all of these spaces as camps. So we don't know for sure the exact nature of this camp. Further archaeological excavation is probably necessary, but we know that there was definitely a Métis community about 2 miles in that direction, and another one about, I would say, 50 miles in that direction. So a couple Métis communities in this vicinity of Fort Macleod and Pincher Creek. Now, this area is a bit different than a lot of southern Alberta, because in most of southern Alberta, the early Métis presence is mostly people from Edmonton ranging southwards and trading with the Blackfoot, usually people with kin ties. But in Fort Macleod, we actually have that group intersecting with Métis from Manitoba and Montana. So you have Métis coming from 3 directions converging on Macleod. By the 1880s, between 20 and 25% of the population of this community would have been Métis. So it's a very visible presence. Regrettably, we weren't able to learn too much about that from the museum here, but from what we know, there was definitely a clear need for Métis here, just by virtue of the mounted police's reliance on Red River carts. As well, many of the buildings are built in the dovetail or saddle notch construction style. This wouldn't be unusual, as it's documented that Fort Calgary, for example, was constructed much the same way by Métis builders hired by the mounted police. So although we see the legacy here, it's really hard to tease out those details because of poor documentation and historical memory. Most of the content here at the museum and in local history books focuses on Mounties, Blackfoot, and American whiskey traders. We sort of seem to fall between the cracks. Nonetheless, the data that we can garner from both census and script indicates a clear presence that even the artifactual collection kept here at Fort Macleod can attest to.